My name is Tasman Raynor, and I'm the head of apprenticeships at Montfort University. I relocated and joined DMU in April 2020, and starting in a new position while in lockdown and during a pandemic has been interesting and challenging, but also very rewarding. I've worked in education and training for over 15 years and have experience of working in schools, FE, HE, and the private sector. I've had the opportunity to work with a wide range of organisations to gain an understanding of their business needs and talent development requirements, and have supported them to navigate through what is a very complex world of apprenticeships. And I'm now going to ask my colleague Alistair to introduce himself.
Thanks, Tasman. Good morning, everyone. So my name's Alistair Cattrall. I'm the Strategic Lead Officer with the Central Apprenticeship Team at Montfort University. I've been with the university since 2017, working in apprenticeships, primarily looking at new program design and development and working closely with local, regional, and indeed national businesses to see how we can design and cater apprenticeships to meet their needs. Thank you, Taz.
Thanks, Alistair. So the apprenticeship landscape has changed significantly over the last few years. Apprenticeships are part of a government incentive, and the introduction of the apprenticeship levy has been a game changer, which has incentivized employers to use the funding to upskill their workforce. With universities now offering higher and degree level apprenticeships, they're a viable alternative to traditional study and offer many benefits. People are seeing the value of apprenticeships as a way to continue lifelong training, as they're not just for younger people at lower levels. Employers, of course, are at the forefront of these new developments, as they are designing new apprenticeship standards that address key skills gaps. Employers continue to develop a wide range of apprenticeship standards across different sectors, subject areas, and levels. And these are often aligned with academic awards and professional accreditation. There are employer incentives to encourage economic growth, and the government's plan for jobs should help kickstart the UK's economic recovery following this pandemic. Any organisation that employs a new apprentice aged 16 to 24 will be granted an additional payment of £2,000. And if the new apprentice is over 25, the organisation will be paid £1,500. In terms of the UK workforce, smaller businesses will be able to grow and train new talented staff. Employers can reward staff through continual training, and staff will be able to train and retrain, becoming more employable as they will develop transferable skills and gain qualifications. So what is an apprenticeship? First and foremost, it is a job with training. Apprenticeships combine working with studying part-time. There is a tripartite relationship between the employer, the provider, and the apprentice. And higher and degree apprenticeships include the achievement of academic and vocational qualifications from level 4 up to bachelor's and even master's degree level at levels 6 and 7. In terms of eligibility, the apprenticeship funding rules place conditions on which individuals can be funded to undertake an apprenticeship through the English system. Employers may also identify minimum qualifications such as education level and the ability to perform the essential functions of the job. And some employers will expect or require applicants to have studied subjects relevant to the apprenticeship they will be undertaking. The university, of course, will have entry requirements for each program, and some apprenticeship standards even have specific entry requirements. Trailblazers are groups of at least 10 employers who work together to create apprenticeship standards and submit these occupational standards to the Institute for Apprenticeships for approval. The apprenticeship standards are employer-led, meaning that employers can specify exactly what's required from an apprentice in each specific role. And the standards outline the knowledge, skills, and behaviours, or KSBs, required to carry out a certain job role. Many apprenticeship standards also include professional body requirements. Each apprenticeship is allocated to one of 30 funding bands, which range from £1,500 to £27,000. New standards will be placed in a funding band as the Institute approves them for delivery. And if the standard is reviewed, and the funding band, of course, may change, and we have seen that happening recently. Funding up to the maximum of the funding band for the apprenticeship can be used to pay for apprenticeship training and assessment of apprenticeships. If the cost of the training and the assessment go over the funding band maximum, employers will need to pay the difference with other funds. Apprenticeships are regulated to ensure that the level of quality and consistency across the apprenticeship standards is concurrent with expectations. They are funded and regulated through the Education Skills Funding Agency, Ofsted, the Office for Students, Ofqual, and indeed the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education. So what are the benefits? Benefits for employers include retaining your talent, as well as gaining access to a broader talent pool by recruiting and developing ambitious, motivated individuals. Using apprenticeship funding to develop and upskill your workforce in a cost-effective manner, and universities are providing flexible ranges of study options such as blended learning, face-to-face, distance learning with block delivery, or indeed day release. Employers can tailor apprenticeships learning to their business needs and increase retention by offering their workforce the chance to develop and progress. Now I'm going to hand back over to Alistair.
Thank you, Tasman. So for National Apprenticeship Week 2021, we're focusing on how apprenticeships support training, retention, and achievements, which bring benefits back to the business as well as to the apprentice. Now, in discussing training, apprenticeships are designed by employers to meet industry-specific roles and needs. Each apprenticeship is built out of components of knowledge, skills, and behaviours that combine into a programme of study, meaning the training apprentices receive is relevant to contemporary industry and will ensure competency in the roles aligned to that standard. It is, in essence, employer-designed training delivered to a high academic standard. Now, in thinking about retainment, the National Apprenticeship Service have demonstrated that from their statistics, 69% of employers say that employing apprentices has improved staff retention over time. Especially in the current climate, job stability and company loyalty are indeed valuable commodities, and apprenticeships support lasting ties between organisations and their employers. Apprenticeships also provide employers with an opportunity to take an active role in shaping staff development and thereby in turn creating future advocates for their businesses. Further statistics from the National Apprenticeship Service show that 65% of apprentices stay working for the companies that train them even after they've completed their apprenticeship. When thinking about achievement, there are also indirect financial returns from employing apprentices. There is noted increased productivity from developing a more skilled, trained workforce. It's also true that apprenticeships are very often aligned to professional body standards, recognition, and industry statuses, and thereby this is another advantage that you're bringing back into the business. Apprenticeships also provide a cycle of contemporary knowledge where apprentices are doing their assessments on the programme built around job-relevant tasks, work-based projects, and so are taking this knowledge and returning it back into the workplace, addressing wicked problems in industry. Now, since 2017, there have been two different funding routes for employers to access apprenticeship levy funding. So we need to talk about companies that are apprenticeship levy paying and those which are non-levy paying. Now, organisations with a annual wage bill of over 3 million were classified as levy paying, meaning that they automatically paid 0.5% of their total annual pay bill into an online digital apprenticeship account, or DAS, with those funds being ring-fenced for apprenticeship training. The government would also then top up these contributions by an additional 10%. Now, for non-levy organisations such as SMEs, for example, these could still access apprenticeship training, and 95% of those courses would be covered by government funds, with the employer contributing just 5% themselves. There are other routes to apprenticeship funding as well, with a transfer option for levy-paying organisations where they're able to transfer up to 25% of their levy pot to any other external organisation, be it one in their supply chain or an external organisation they want to develop lasting partnerships with. Since autumn 2020, there have been further changes allowing all organisations of shapes and sizes to have access to their digital apprenticeship service, meaning the range of training providers and the range of programmes is much expanded for smaller organisations. So now the digital apprenticeship service has been the single go-to location for reserving training. There is also, just to go back one brief second, there's also additional payments available where employers are eligible to receive up to £1,000 in additional payments for specific apprenticeship areas. Thank you. Now, in reserving funding through the Digital Apprenticeship Service, if you've already got an account, that's great. If not, you're going to need to create one in order to reserve funding and use this to generate payments for apprentices. This is easily set up. To do so, you do need a bit of additional information around your government gateway credentials or your organizational number. This could include your account reference number or PAYE. And once you've created your account on the Digital Apprenticeship Service, it will allow you to manage your apprenticeship funding to see how and where it's being allocated and when you can expect payments to be taken to support training. Also, as employers, it allows you to select training providers, or as I mentioned, if you're a levy paying organization, transfer those funds to other organizations rather than lose them. It essentially gives you complete control of your apprenticeship journey, having full oversight and control of the process. Now, for non-levy organizations, since 2020, as I've mentioned, you can now reserve up to 10 apprentices 3 months in advance on this system, ensuring that those funds are protected for that training. For levy-paying organizations, there is no cap as to the number of apprenticeships that you can use the DAS for. There is further explanations and information available on how the DAS works, and that's made available at the end of these slides in some of the links provided. Now, very briefly, apprenticeships are divided into a number of levels, and this separates the different types of qualification that the apprentice is going to receive at the end of the program. The benefit of this is that it supports continual professional development at any stage of an individual's career, and also can meet various different business needs of an organization. Furthermore, it provides a tiered approach to incremental training where an apprentice is able to take a lower level early on in their career and then top it up later on with a further higher level or even degree level apprenticeship. Now, when we're looking at the standards, level 2 to 5 have traditionally been delivered by further education, with levels 6 and 7 delivered by universities. There are some overlaps to these, as a level 6 program, which is on average 3 years, contains 4, 5, and 6 within that. So it's worth thinking about the end result of the apprenticeship as well as the starting point. It's also true that now there is some merging of those areas, with universities starting to deliver level 4 and 5 programs as well, and actually universities working with colleges to develop pipeline progression routes from the lower entry level positions right through to your level 6 and your level 7. Now, you'll see that on level 6 and 7, we're referring to these as degree apprenticeships. And a level 6 apprenticeship is what's known as a degree level apprenticeship. Now, very often that will mean that that apprenticeship includes a degree qualification, and a level 7 will include a master's qualification. Some don't, some do, so it's always worth checking the Institute for Apprenticeships website to make sure you know exactly the qualifications that are going to be achieved by that program. It's also true that a lot of these programs, as I've mentioned, have embedded relevant professional body recognition. So you might find that somebody taking a level 6 apprenticeship in management, for example, is also going to leave with Chartered Management Institute status. So again, it's worth looking at the training providers offer to see exactly the qualifications the individual is going to achieve, because very often these will be numerous. And now I'll hand you back to my colleague, Taz.
Thank you, Alistair. So De Montfort University is a university whose history is infused with vocational training and learning tailored around employability skills, and apprenticeships create a perfect fusion for workplace training and academic learning. DMU has been offering apprenticeships since 2016, starting with 10 apprentices on program, and we now have over 600 apprentices currently on program, demonstrating the significant shift in the apprenticeship landscape over the past few years and the increased level of buy-in from industry. The university continues to work with employer consultation groups, partners, and trailblazers to develop models of study that address key industry skills gaps and are suited to the occupation and the business needs. Apprenticeship programs are designed with employers to ensure that they reflect the relevant knowledge, skills, and behaviours that your business needs. For information, DMU actually have some bespoke apprenticeship programs that have been developed with employers, such as the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship, Cybersecurity, and Audiology. Next slide for Alistair, please.
Thank you, Tasman. So just very briefly on how apprenticeships are delivered. All apprenticeships are blended learning delivery. Now, this means a combination of face-to-face learning, be it physical or virtual, as we're currently doing now, and distance learning as well, allowing the apprentice to take those skills and knowledge they're learning in their academic content and bring it into their business, apply it in their daily duties, and test out where they can actually use it in their role. It's also true that for the assessments within apprenticeships, these will very often bring in work-based challenges. So apprentices will be able to employ work projects into their assignments and thereby, again, connect what they're doing in the workplace with what they're doing in their academic study. Alongside standard assessments, apprentices also develop a portfolio of evidence throughout the duration of their program, which demonstrates all of those employability skills, that subject matter expertise, those knowledge, skills, and behaviors throughout all of the apprenticeship. Now, apprenticeships vary on different lengths depending on the level and the qualifications they're in, but your apprentice will receive at least a minimum of 12 months of new knowledge, skills, and training. However, as I've said, for the levels 6 and 7, very often you're looking at 2 to 3 years. There are, however, multiple intakes. Apprenticeships are not bound to those traditional academic cycles, so it's always worth checking in with training providers to see when the next intake is, when those application dates are, and how you can get that process working. While apprentices on program, 20% of their time, their contracted hours, is dedicated to the development of those new knowledge, skills, and behaviors. And at the end of their program, they undertake an endpoint assessment, which is a culmination of all that learning, showcasing their competencies and abilities that they have developed throughout the program. There's also regular touch points for yourselves as employers to stay engaged and active with what the apprentices are learning, with regular tripartite reviews where the apprentice, an employer representative, and a staff member from DMU come together to discuss their progress and the next steps. Now, very briefly, just to look at the current programs that DMU has to offer, there are a number of different programs in different areas. For example, management and leadership. We also have apprenticeships in architecture and electronics, digital skills and cybersecurity. As Tasman has mentioned, we also deliver bespoke programs as well to public sectors, looking at health and policing. The majority of these apprenticeships have been designed in partnerships and working with employers, making sure that the content, the model of delivery, and the structure of the program suits the business needs. We do also have many more apprenticeship programs currently in development. So very briefly, just to look at these areas, you will see here that we're expanding into the digital sector with a lot of these programs. We're also working towards some of those lower levels, as I discussed. So you've got your data analyst here at level 4. And again, as I talked about, we're developing those pathways so individuals at different pinch points in their career can find the right apprenticeship for them. So you might see we have data analyst at a level 4, and then we have a data analyst program at level 6 as well. So these will be giving multiple entry points and different places in people's career where they might want to consider that particular program. There's also some really exciting apprenticeship standards we're looking at the moment, which would be suitable for a number of different roles across a number of different industries. So one that I'm very passionate about is looking at the creative digital design professional, which would be suitable for designers, creative designers, or web design, as I've said, in a number of different organizations. Now, within all of these standards, we work with employers to make sure that they fit the needs of the business industry. So at the moment, we're talking to organizations in the region about our construction standards, making sure that they're going to be suitable for the individuals to balance with their workplace roles. Thank you. And with that note, I'll hand you over to the next slide. So when you're looking at whether or not an apprenticeship is right for you, there's a couple of things to take into account that really help that process of discovery. Part of that is making sure that the apprenticeship is suitable for that particular job role. And that might be looking at the job description, the person specification, all those roles and responsibilities. But it is also important to think about apprenticeships are not just about the role the individual is in now, but they're also about that progression route. What's next for that individual in the business? How do you want them to continue to develop those skills and expertise, bringing further knowledge back into their role? Another really important consideration is to think about the program length and whether this suits your own organization's recruitment strategies or cycles, and also the contractual obligations for keeping that person on the program from the beginning to the end of the program. There are a couple of other rules and regulations that the education skills funding agencies put into effect. Most of these are on the slide now in terms of talking about the individual having the right to work in England, 50% of their working hours spent in England, and having that contract length. However, once you've started those conversations with your training provider, for example, Montfort University, they will guide you through evaluation of those points just to make sure that everything is in the right place, that the individual is eligible and suitable for the role, and they can start the program straight away. What's essential to remember is that the advantage of an apprenticeship is it is a truly tripartite relationship between the training provider, the employer, and the apprentice, keeping all of those parties informed and engaged, watching that real-time transference of working skills go back into the business with the contemporary skills actually from the organization, going back and challenging their classroom learning. With that, I'll hand you over to the next slide.
So as you'll see from this slide, Montfort University work with a range of employers, from local businesses and SMEs to large multinational employers. And some employers have apprentices in various areas of their business. We aim to provide what employers need and would welcome having a conversation about your individual needs and requirements. The next slide, please. Thank you. We've also provided some links to some useful information. And should you want any additional support and guidance, please don't hesitate to contact us at apprenticeships@dmu.ac.uk.